Good evening, everyone. I'm Calestine. I'm the head of publications, and I work with the liberal arts team at MRC. And I think over the course of my journey, I've understood that what MRC does when it looks at technologies and the underwater domain awareness, it has also consistently tried to build the importance of it, not just building our capabilities, but also why are we looking into the oceans? Why are we looking into the rivers, oceans? And answering those questions is where liberal arts would come, because liberal arts perspectives would look at the how, why, what questions rather than the material built or systems that we want to build. So here, this is a small presentation that I made that I've been working on with Arnab. So it's called Building the Blue Sun, where I just personally, I feel like the UDA its framework itself is like the blue sun. And just like a sun, it provides energy and it lights up and we can see space. The same way, the underwater ocean sunlight does not even penetrate more than 200 meters, I believe. How do you see the rest 97% of the ocean? What are the resources and the organisms, and how do we manage it? So here is where I wanted to place the UDA framework as something that illuminates an entire part of the globe that nobody else wants to see or does not know how to see, and its place in the world order, which is why should we even care about this? So firstly, these are just statistical facts. We all know this. 71% of the Earth's surface is water. It's important for biodiversity. A majority of the Earth's animals are on the water. Food security for billions of people. Climate change is controlled by a lot of these ocean currents. Trade and technology runs entirely through ocean, like whether it's through ships, whether it's through internet cables, internet and finance. Every time you do a UPI, Aadhaar authentication request, it has to travel undersea cables. Cultures and livelihoods, institutions and statecraft, and ultimately world order. So I think that's where we want to center whatever we are doing, is that we have to understand that they intersect with a lot of institutions, a lot of things like that. And so here's what we've developed together, which is five things of how five segments of how we can world. Where does UDA factor in world order, or like in the institutional or the power dynamics of the 21st century? So firstly, as we know, politics, we know that ocean politics is the bedrock, with control over maritime choke points, oceanic resources, subsea cables. Now we know that just having an advantage of the air is not something that's going to win a war. We've seen that happen in the Strait Hormuz. And you understand the criticality of a lot of these choke points, that status, and therefore the very nature of the institutions that are built, the collaborations, multilateralism, data sharing, all of these does form an important part of a statecraft or an institution that wants to understand the ocean that literally that we're all floating on. Secondly, about economics again, how does the money come in, right? And we understand that a lot of the oceans is where global supply chains intersect, 80% of global trade. So what we want to do is not just list the facts, but how is this better? Like when you have a ship coming into a port in India, how can you make sure that biofouling of the ship is done better? How can you make sure that the ports are dredged more systematically? How can you make sure that the cables are safe so that nothing happens to international financial systems? So these are something that we need to analyze the questions. So instead of only focusing on how to get it done, we're also going to look at why should we get this done? Why is it important? So that's where a lot of this world order and liberal arts perspective of UDA comes in. Third, again, environment, ecological collapse is existential. All of these spaces we know are getting commercialized. But what we also have seen is that not only is the oceans getting over harvested, but it's also regenerating at larger. Like it'll take decades for a forest to grow back. But the same thing is not the same with the oceans, where reefs can, grow biodiversity. And this is not just good for the nature as something, it's also good for the communities that rely on the food that these ecosystems bring in. And again, demography. We have 50% of the world's population lives within 100 miles of a coastline. Majority of the world's population will live in coastlines. And how do we make sure, like, okay, we're saying people live there near the oceans, but ultimately this comes down to skilling, to capacity building, employment generation, and not just using the ocean as a peripheral, oh, we can't see it, so we don't have to think about it, but as a space where that can on land, while building a connection that we have in or underwater spaces, including rivers and lakes as well. And fifth, technology. This is something that we've all seen. Technology, we understand that technology is important because it allows us to see the ocean, it allows us to map. And if you look at the bottom left, that's data centers. So if we want the entire future of humanity is currently now, if you look at the stock market, is being betted on artificial intelligence that will revolutionize the world. but ultimately like all these data centers require water. Do we have enough drinking water that we're going to divert from villages, or do we think about solutions like keeping them underwater, using the ocean itself as a sink to kind of cool off the servers? And how else can we look at all of these? So we also believe that technology is not like a abstract thing that we can just build because we have to, but how and what should it be built is something that Ekta after me will present as well, and which is talking about what are our priorities. And that's where the UDA framework acts like a sun. It's saying that we're going to unlock energy potential. We're going to be able to see underwater spaces that we can't see before, and we're going to have to get our priorities in check. A structured, comprehensive, and inclusive priority approach where you have digital information transformation, you have strategic security to look at the maritime choke points, you have climate change and offshore wind production, and all of this is a lot of things. It's spread out. It's a very big endeavor, but we need to have a framework to see it and to analyze what is its place in the global order. So as 21st century, like we've been on land too long. Now we have to turn to the waters. We've always turned to waters, but like now with an added focus and the added tools and technologies that we've developed on land, and it just represents a whole new horizon, a whole new frontier that India as a country or even the world as a whole can advance to. And all of that is so much more important to be done in a very structured, comprehensive way. And that's what I think the UDA approach would offer. And I think that's what it's also important to not just have the technological and physical building of these institutions and resources, but also the philosophical and the liberal and the sort of like theoretical approaches to why should we pursue this, what do we gain, what are the trade-offs. So that's something that we will have to manage going forward, and it's amazing that MRC has given me an opportunity to be a part of that journey. And I'll wrap this up. It's been 6 minutes, so that's essentially what I wanted to say, and we're going to build this up step by step, how much UDA as a framework is going to influence the world order and change the way that we see the world, because the world will probably never look the same again because we're going to look at it through a new lens. So yeah, that's from my end.